Hello, hi everyone. We are here with another episode related to Reuters Pharma 2025 taking place in Barcelona. This is Himanshu Sehgal, CEO, co-founder PharmaShots. We are here with one of the panelists at the event. Uh, so we are here with Vikram Mohan. Vikram Mohan is an international marketing director oncology with one of the leading pharmaceutical company. Uh, he has been extensively working in the commercial excellence and the content operations with leading pharma companies. And in the past, he has worked with organizations like Novartis and IBM. So thank you, Vikram, for joining and talking to us and giving the pre glimpse of what the panel discussion is going to be all about. So thank you so much for that. Um, without further ado, I'll let me just start directly to come to the topic. So, Vikram, what is the topic of your panel discussion? Can you talk about a little bit about that with us?
Sure, and thanks for having me here, Himanshu. It's a pleasure to speak to you. I'm really looking forward to this grand event, which is going to be happening next week in Barcelona. The topic that I'm a panelist for is called the Contents Industrial Revolution. It's a very key specific area which I would say that every pharma company has got as a focus. And the reason why it's called and being termed as an industrial revolution is really interesting. And a couple of data points over here. One specifically is the fact that as an industry, the amount of dollars that we spend simply on content is in the range of $30 to $40 billion. This is as per the Viva report. So that's the amount of monies we are spending on content in the pharma industry. And the scale at which this content is increasing year on year. Almost 37% of the content increases every year, and 3.3x times is simply the digital content. So that's really the volume, the money, and the scale at which medical content, commercial content is being generated by pharma companies. Now, the reason why this topic has been termed as an industrial revolution is because there's a paradigm shift which is happening in the way the industry has been creating, approving, reviewing, and deploying and activating content. And the changes which are driving this shift from what that traditional model was to the new model is nothing short of an industrial revolution in real terms. And that's why this topic is really apt and really pertinent for anybody who's working in the industry at this point in time.
So how many panelists are going to be in that discussion?
So we're a total of 4 panelists, and it's an interesting mix that Reuters brought together. They are colleagues who come from other leading pharma companies with experience in both the content, commercial, technology, and operations space. So it makes for an interesting mix because every professional who's worked in this domain has had their own experiences to bring along, and I've seen different kind of enablers being deployed by their companies to make this revolution come true.
Awesome. So Vikram, before we dive into, because you've touched upon a lot of points, you started with the paradigm shift. So obviously the paradigm shift was triggered by some sort of challenges or gap areas. So can you elaborate on those challenges or gap areas which were there in the pre-existing content or creation of that content, basically?
Yeah, I think a few challenges which I like to list out is simply the time it takes for us as an industry to simply create, review, approve, and get that content ready for being activated for the customers, while an FMCG or a retail company can do it in a matter of hours. For us, simply because of the regulations in place, it takes a really long time. And there are statistics around this. So on an average, it takes about 21 days as an industry for us to simply get the content review approved and ready for activation. That's a big challenge, right? It's the time which is taking. And the content needs are also increasing tremendously from the old days of static content. We're moving towards bite-sized, interactive, more experiential kind of content, which is what the audience wants. Now, again, this again brings more complexities in the way you are reviewing the content, because if it's experiential, if it's interactive, it puts a larger burden on the part of our reviewers to be able to review and approve this, which again directly translates into the armies of reviewers and approvers that pharma companies need to have in place simply to
Yeah.
get this content over the line. So there were these big challenges which have to be overcome if we need to be agile, if we need to be scalable, and also we need to be compliant with what the regulations are in place. And that's
So,
what is really behind this content conundrum that the industry is facing at this point in time.
so thank you for sharing that glimpse. Now, you know, you are obviously on the content side and you've worked with companies like IBM. You are very well aware of, the present trends like chat GPT, AI, and all that. So what do you think technology is going to play a role in this revolutionizing the content creation and development, specifically for the pharma company, not for the general public, but for the specifically for pharma company?
You make an interesting point when you speak about all these AI enablers. I think they can be directly translated and applied in a lot of other industries that you spoke about. But in the pharma industry, it has to be taken with a pinch of salt and it has to be applied in context to where the biggest points of inefficiency are. And the biggest points of inefficiency in the content supply chain when it comes to pharma is simply the review and approval time that it takes us. And from a technology standpoint, there are already a lot of enablers that pharma companies have started to deploy. I'll just talk about a few of them. One is simply the way we are actually creating our claims right now, and that is actually moving to an automated linking of the references without the need for the marketer or the agency to actually manually go and create a link to the reference, and that is all being driven by optical character recognition et al, etc., which is really the first step. And then moving beyond that into artificial intelligence, it's more about using AI as an assistant and doing that hard, manual, physical work which a reviewer would need to do and providing him with assistance in the review process. So it's not replacing the reviewers, but providing AI-assisted reviews which check and sanitize the content against regulations, against guidelines, against channel guidelines and brand guidelines. And that's the entire application of AI in terms of being an assistant for the reviewers to be able to help them become more efficient and do their job in a much more quicker format. And that all is enabled by certain fundamental technology platforms like content authoring tools, like tier-based content similarity scores, risk modeling, etc., which makes this process overall much more efficient and dynamic in nature. So those would be a few multipliers, enablers that are driving this entire shift from what was a traditional historical model to a much more agile, fast, scalable, and compliant model.
Awesome. So thank you. Now, uh, we have discussed about the gaps technology. Now comes a third question, which is part of it. Like, how do you see as a leader? How do you envision what's going to be there next 5 years down the line? Would be the future of content specifically for pharma and healthcare industry? What do you see in the future, basically?
That's an interesting question. It's difficult to predict the future, but the way we've been seeing the changes happening, I think it's a no-brainer that the way we are creating and we are looking at the content supply chain is going to change significantly. From a linear content supply chain, it's going to become more of a circular supply chain in which, within a few weeks of a new study being published or a marketing authorization being received, a pharma company would be able to share and activate the content specific to that clinical study or the market authorization in different content formats, whether it be email, web pages, infographics, bite-sized videos, experiential content. And that will allow the HCPs to be able to consume and benefit from this content in real time. That long lead time from when a clinical study is published or a marketing authorization is received to when that actual content starts hitting the HCP's inboxes or the reps' iPads, that entire lead time will reduce significantly. And second, I believe with the enablers that we have from an AI standpoint, from tier-based review of this content, and also the inbuilt guardrails that these technology platforms offer, the amount of fines and regulatory breaches that we as an industry cause because of incompliant content will start to reduce drastically. I think those two will significantly help, one, to ensure the reputation of the industry, and two, be able to provide the right content in a quick manner to the HCPs for them to be able to treat their patients better, which will lead to a better society and a healthier society, which is what is the overarching goal of our industry as such.
True, true. And with that, I'll end my questions. I know you have a busy schedule and obviously you will be preparing for the panel discussion as well. So thank you so much, Vikram, for taking out time and talking to us and giving us a glimpse of what you are going to speak and being delivering at the Reuters Pharma event. So thank you so much. It was lovely meeting you and lovely talking to you.
A pleasure and great interacting with you, Himanshu. Look forward to seeing you there, and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.